I am the #1 sharp-tongued woman who fled the capital. This title wasn't something I gave myself, but was bestowed upon me by old Wang the Butcher from East Street. Here's the story. His wife specialized in cursing, her scolding echoing through the streets. Even dogs would tuck their tails and run in circles when they heard her. But one day, she came all the way to my door to curse. So I leisurely cracked sunflower seeds while calmly listening for half an hour. When she had shouted herself hoarse, her mouth dry and tongue burning, I finally opened my mouth slowly. Not a single vulgar word, but each phrase was like a sharp needle piercing straight into her heart. From the affair between her young self and the scholar next door that wasn't quite clean, to how her son in the private school was caught secretly looking at Spring Palace pictures and had his leg broken by the teacher, and then to how old Wang the Butcher was hiding from her, spending all his private money on a frivolous widow in South City. As soon as I finished speaking, she didn't cry or make a fuss, just rolled her eyes back and collapsed unconscious. Old Wang carried his wife away, but turned back to give me a thumbs up, grinding his teeth as he said, "Charlotte Belle, you're formidable. You're not just sharp-tongued, you're the king of hell himself walking among us." From then on, whenever the matchmakers saw my door, they'd turn and flee like they'd seen a ghost. My father, a gentle and simple 7th-rank minor official, worried so much about this that nearly all his hair fell out. "My daughter, with that mouth of yours, I fear no one will dare marry you." I wasn't anxious at all. What's so great about marriage? First serving the in-laws, then taking care of the husband, raising children, and having to fight with a bunch of concubines whose thoughts are tangled like silk threads. Just thinking about it made me tired. Better to stay home with father supporting me. Wouldn't keeping books for company be better? Until one day, a huge pie fell from the sky with a crash, landing right on my head. It was the Jiao family. Minister Theodore Jiao had sent someone to invite the most famous matchmaker in the capital, Madame Zhang, to come propose marriage to me. Madame Zhang swayed her barrel like waste, her face beaming as she entered the house, causing the entire alley to buzz with excitement. Neighbors gathered around the walls, craning their necks so far they looked ready to snap. "Oh my, isn't that Madame Zhang? Who is she here to matchmake for? Who else could it be? Isn't that the little firecracker from the Bell family? Which family? Which Jiao? Could it be Minister Theodore himself? What else could it be? I heard Lord Jiao is young and talented, elegant as jade with unlimited prospects. Why would he set his sights on that wild girl from the Bell family?" My father was stunned, his hands shaking so much he spilled tea everywhere. Madame Zhang ignored the gossiping voices and walked straight to my father, bowing respectfully. "Lord Bell, this old woman comes bearing Minister Theodore's command to propose marriage to young Lady Charlotte." My father nearly fell off his chair. "Madame Zhang, you're not mistaken, are you? You mean my daughter Charlotte. It cannot be wrong." Madame Zhang smiled with squinted eyes, pulling out a marriage proposal so long it swept the floor. Lord Xiao said, "Miss Bell is straightforward in character, unconstrained by petty conventions, truly a remarkable woman in this world. I have long admired her." I sat beside them, goosebumps rising all over my body. Long admired. I didn't even know whether his face was round or flat. But seeing my father's eyes brighten and his face flush red with excitement, my heart suddenly softened. Perhaps marriage wouldn't be so bad. After all, if I could truly marry a gentleman as gentle as jade, from now on, I would wash away my reputation for sharp words, become a virtuous wife and good mother, and be a gentle lady. Let the entire capital know that Charlotte wasn't just someone who knew how to curse in the streets. So, under the incredulous gazes of the entire neighborhood, I gently nodded to my father. Father, I agreed to the marriage. That year, I was 20 and finally married myself off. On the wedding night, with red candles burning bright, I wore a phoenix crown so heavy it could crush someone, sitting properly by the bed, silently chanting the name of goddess Nua 100 times in my heart. I was so nervous. I'd never been this nervous before. I heard that my husband Theodore was gentle as jade with a bearing like the bright moon. My heart, experienced in the ways of the world, somehow wouldn't listen to me and kept beating wildly. Footsteps approached from afar. The door was pushed open, and a faint scent of ink mixed with pure wine wafted in with the breeze. I clutched the handkerchief hidden in my sleeve. The wedding scale gently lifted the red veil, and I secretly raised my eyes. With just one glance, I was mesmerized. Beautiful heart, stirringly beautiful. Sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes, a straight high nose, lips curved in a perfect smile. He was even more handsome than the man in the portrait, making my heart beat even faster. Theodore looked at me, his eyes sparkling bright, looking so excited. He kept rubbing his hands together. I thought he was about to say something sweet, so I prepared to lower my head shyly. Who would have thought that as soon as he opened his mouth, he nearly made me fall backwards off the bed? I heard that when Madame scolds people, she can scold them so thoroughly they have to go home and copy it into their family records that very night. What? The thread called romance in my head snapped with a loud crack. I quickly waved my hands, afraid he too would see me as some green-faced, yellow-fanged monster like the rumors said. Husband, rest assured. Those are all baseless rumors. I have long since reformed myself, determined to be a virtuous wife and loving mother. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, Theodore's smile immediately vanished. He waved his hands frantically, speaking so urgently, he stammered, "No, no, absolutely not!" He leaned forward anxiously, lowering his voice, a strange fervor lighting up in his eyes. Madam, please be even more fierce in the future. Absolutely don't show mercy to anyone. I was completely bewildered, swallowing nervously and probing. What does husband mean? He leaned forward anxiously, lowering his voice, a strange fervor light. I'm ashamed to say this, but my first wife died early, leaving behind a son named William. This child has had no one to guide him since he was small, and his personality has become increasingly withdrawn. I listened like I was lost in fog, anxiously interrupting. He awkwardly rubbed his hands together. It's like this. William is often bullied at school. Those little brats rely on their family background and call him a motherless child every day. So, in the future, I'll have to trouble Madame to put in more effort. So, that's it. My head buzzed, and everything suddenly became clear. No wonder such a pie fell from the sky onto my head. Minister Theodore of the Zhao family, a high-ranking official that all civil and military officers in court wanted to befriend. Why would he set his sights on the daughter of a 7th-rank minor official like me? He was targeting this very mouth of mine. The Jiao family came from a scholarly lineage of book readers and officials. It wouldn't be proper for them to lower themselves to argue with those powerful madams and unruly brats. That's why they carefully selected me, the famous human canon of the capital, to specifically deal with those unreasonable troublemakers. And here I thought my charm had conquered him. I was so annoyed. I wanted to roll my eyes to the heavens, but I maintained a composed expression, clasping my hands together with a solemn face. Husband, there's something you don't know. I've come to realize that all my past sins stemmed from speaking carelessly, creating countless verbal transgressions. Before leaving home, I vowed before Buddha that from now on, I would cultivate my mind and character, wholeheartedly pursuing virtue. Theodore jumped up frantically. So anxious, he stomped his feet. How can this be called speaking carelessly? This is called elegant persuasion and gentle guidance. Hemp. So men want me to be their gun, letting the Jiao family take the blame while they enjoy a good reputation. This losing deal wouldn't even interest a dog. I continued my saintly act. Amitabha, I have laid down my butcher's knife and become Buddha on the spot. I thought he would continue trying to persuade me. Who knew that the very next second, Theodore performed what seemed like magic, pulling from his sleeve a pearl as large as a goose egg. Under the candlelight, the pearl emanated a soft glow, illuminating half the room. This is a night-illuminating pearl that His Majesty bestowed upon me when I went to the South Seas last year, worth 1,000 gold pieces. I swallowed hard, trying to look away. I truly am not the type of person who covets money. He then pulled from his belt a thick stack of property deeds, setting them before me with a thud. These are the deeds to 16 properties the Jiao family owns in the capital, and from now on, they all belong to Madame. Deal closed. I immediately hugged the stack of property deeds and the pearl to my chest. Moving so fast, only an after image remained, afraid he might change his mind. Holding this contract for selling myself, I secretly calculated, wasn't it just scolding people? This was already my profession for these 16 properties. Even if I had to treat William Xiao like my own flesh and blood, spoiling him completely, I'd be willing. Besides, my husband was so handsome. This deal was hugely profitable for me. I cleared my throat and looked at Theodore, flashing a confident and professional smile. Husband, rest assured. Starting tomorrow, I am William's birth mother. Anyone who dares touch a hair on his head, I'll make their entire family regret ever being born into this world. Theodore sighed with relief, bowing deeply toward me. Then everything depends on Madam. The candle light flickered. We looked at each other and smiled. A strategic alliance was thus silently established. From now on, he would remain the minister with a bearing like the moon, playing the white face who specialized in mediation, while I would continue being a sharp, tonged woman, single-handedly shielding my stepson. Thinking about being able to open fire tomorrow, I suddenly felt a bit eager with anticipation. Today was the first time I went to pick up little William from school with the identity of Lady Jiao. To show the sincerity of a stepmother, I deliberately changed into simple yet elegant clothing and specially ordered the kitchen to prepare the famous flower-shaped waffles from the CG shop in the capital. The school gate was already crowded with all kinds of luxurious carriages. The fragrant smoke from incense burners, mixed with the scent of noble roe and powder on the ladies, was so thick I sneezed 3 times in a row and nearly vomited my breakfast. Several gorgeously dressed noble ladies were chatting in groups of 3 or 5. When they heard the commotion, they all turned around in unison. Their gazes at me were no different from looking at something filthy that had just crawled out of a cesspit. "Oh, whose shabby carriage is that? I heard it's that girl who just married Minister Jiao, coming from a poor 7th-rank official's family and wanting to stand on equal footing with us. Task? 20 years old before getting married. By that age, I'd already given birth to 3 children. Who knows what evil spirit possessed Minister Jiao to associate with such low-born trash, truly lowering our class." I quietly pulled out a handful of sunflower seeds, crunching them crisply, then tiptoed up behind the ladies. "What are you sisters chatting about? It sounds so lovely. May I join in the fun?" All 3 women jumped in shock, nearly leaping up like they'd seen a ghost. The one in the middle, wearing a red dress with her hair full of jade pins, must be the leader, Lady Victoria Wang. She pointed straight at my face and scolded loudly. "How rude! Can't you make some noise when you walk? Shall I go tell Lord Wang to impeach your father?" I immediately put away the sunflower seeds and switched to a face full of worship, my eyes sparkling like stars. "Oh, so this is the legendary Lady Wang. I've admired you for so long. This bearing, This demeanor truly lives up to your reputation." Lady Wang, hearing my flattery, raised her chin even higher, just like a proud hen smoothing her hair bun. The other ladies watching the drama immediately covered their mouths with their hands, exchanging glances that said, "So, the rumors are true." But I suddenly lowered my voice, putting on a mysterious air and leaning in close. "Madam, you probably don't know yet, do you? Just now on the way from West City, I heard people gossiping that you have 3 young masters. The eldest son is 8 years old, but still can't recite the ode to King Win. The second son is 6, but still walks unsteadily. And the third son is 4, but still can't hold a spoon properly." I put on an expression of genuine concern for her. All of Chang'an is saying that perhaps in your previous life, you and Lord Wang committed some terrible karma. So this life, it's manifesting in your children. Lady Wang's face went from red to white to deathly pale. Even the thick powder on her face cracked and fell off. Everyone knew her 3 sons were all slow-witted. Because of this, Lord Wang had grown cold toward her, spending his days in the courtyards of his concubines, treating the children of his secondary wives like legitimate heirs and doting on them. This was her greatest pain. "You wretched creature! I'll tear that mouth of yours apart!" She shrieked in rage. The maid behind her immediately rolled up her sleeves, baring her claws as she charged forward. I didn't flinch at all, even raising my chin defiantly. "Go ahead, hit me right here. Look carefully. My husband is Minister Jiao, a third-rank official. You just try touching a hair on my head. Tomorrow, I'll have your entire family thrown in prison to eat jail food." The maid's hand, raised in midair, immediately shrank back. No matter how noble one's master might be, it wasn't worth more than one's own life. Lady Wang was furious and turned to slap the maid hard across the face. "Useless thing." I picked my ear lazily and said, "If you're so capable, why don't you do it yourself? Or are you afraid that if Lord Wang finds out you're causing trouble outside, he'll punish you by making you sleep with the servants?" That one sentence hit her weak spot perfectly. Lady Wang, abandoning all dignity, raised her hand to slap me. At that very moment, I quickly pulled the lady who had just mocked my humble origins in front of me as a shield. Smack. A crisp slap landed squarely on that beauty's lovely face, her carefully maintained skin immediately swelling up like a steamed bun. "Victoria! How dare you hit me!" The beauty clutched her cheek in disbelief and screamed. Lady Victoria was also horrified, frantically waving her hands. "No, no, sister. I was trying to hit that wretch. She pulled you in front to take the blow. We're on the same side." I stood behind the beauty, vigorously, adding fuel to the fire. "Come on. Hasn't she bullied you all enough normally? On the surface, she calls you sisters, but who knows how she mocks you behind your backs? Right, sister?" Sure enough, the beauty's long, suppressed resentments were ignited by my words and exploded. She reached out and yanked off the precious red coral hairpin from Victoria's head. "Victoria, what are you so arrogant about all day? Who doesn't know that even in the Marquis's mansion, you can't even control a little concubine?" Having her weakness exposed, Lady Wang angrily grabbed the beauty's hair. "Susan's son, don't forget who gave you the fertility medicine when you couldn't conceive. Who was it that knelt and begged me? Who followed me around like a dog, saying she'd obey me for life? Now that your husband has been promoted, you've grown wings and dare not respect me anymore." The 2 women lunged at each other, pulling hair and clawing. The remaining lady, Diana Chen, hurriedly rushed in to stop them. "Stop fighting! If you want to fight, I'll block you right now. If you want to fight, go inside to do it." Both women had red eyes and began hitting wildly, dragging Diana into the fray too. Beauty Susan pushed Diana hard. "Diana, what are you pretending for? Wasn't it just the day before yesterday that you said Victoria had bad breath? What? You said I have bad breath? Victoria's voice shot up 8 octaves as she temporarily stopped fighting. Deanna Chen stammered awkwardly. So, what if I did? You really do have bad breath. Victoria's face contorted. Fine, you can take a slap from me too. And so, before everyone's eyes, 3 normally elegant and dignified noble ladies suddenly started pulling hair, slapping faces, and cursing each other's ancestors for 18 generations. The scene was even more chaotic than a temple fair at the Imperial Temple. I happily finished the last handful of sunflower seeds just as the school bell rang. Groups of children came out laughing and playing, but only our little dumpling walked out alone and dejected. The child carried a small book bag with his head hanging down, looking so pitiful it made even this temporary mother's heart ache. William. I stood on my tiptoes, waving enthusiastically. Mother is here. Little William heard me but didn't react much, just slowly shuffled forward. In front, a chubby boy, the precious son of Lady Victoria, named Kevin Wang, suddenly blocked his path. William, I heard your father remarried. Stepmothers are all evil. You're in for suffering now. William's already sad face became even more dejected, his head nearly tucked into his chest. I took 2 quick steps forward, stuffed the hot flower-shaped waffles into the little dumpling's arms, then turned to the chubby boy with a gentle smile. Oh, isn't this Lady Wang's precious son? You look so chubby and healthy. I heard you've been studying the Ode to King Win for 3 months, but still haven't memorized it. But you can eat 10 chicken eggs in 1 meal. The boy's face turned red as pig liver. His fists clenched tight. I patted my chest boldly. Go ahead, hit me. If you can knock me down today, tomorrow the heir position will go to a concubine's son. When that happens, even your mother won't be able to protect you. Ha ha. After saying this, I took William's hand and leisurely walked away amid the boys' pig-like squealing. The carriage passed the 3 ladies, and I saw each of them was bruised and battered, their hair disheveled like 3 defeated animals fighting. I laughed delightedly, but unfortunately let out a loud sound that sprayed saliva on William's sleeve. Ew, gross! He quickly dodged away. I hurriedly wiped it clean with my handkerchief and offered him a piece of waffle. The waffles from CG Shop are fresh from the oven. I had to wait in line for half an hour to buy them. I watched his little nose twitch slightly as he swallowed, but his mouth remained stubbornly firm. Grandmother says eating these snacks isn't good for your health. Nonsense! I blurted out, then quickly coughed and put on a virtuous wife and mother act on him. I mean, your grandmother isn't entirely right. This morning I saw her secretly eating dried peach cakes in the garden. I picked up a piece of waffle and gently touched his hand with it. Come on, try a piece. He finally hesitantly accepted it, nibbling bit by bit, then suddenly looked up and asked, Today, Mother offended Kevin. What if he goes home and tells his mother? I chewed the waffle while vaguely answering that I would give the response, children playing with each other, we adults shouldn't interfere. This response stunned him. It sounded very familiar, because last time when he was bullied by Kevin and told grandmother, she had angrily gone to find Lady Wang only to receive exactly this response. All of this had been coached to me by Theodore last night. Being a human canon also required attention to tactics. Know yourself and your enemy, and you'll win every battle. Looking at his small head hanging down, my heart softened again. For such a small child to endure so much vicious talk was truly pitiful. I squatted down to face him at eye level and gently held his cold little hand. Do you know when I was little, I was also called a motherless child? His eyes immediately widened, filled with surprise and disbelief. Back then, I was very fierce. I smiled and pinched his nose lightly. Anyone who dared say that about me, I would chase and beat them. Once I even chased a neighbor boy up a tree, and he could only hug the trunk, crying for his mother, not daring to climb down. The little dumpling burst out laughing, revealing 2 adorable dimples. You're not like what they said. I smiled gently, using my handkerchief to wipe away the waffle crumbs from the corner of his mouth.
Let me guess what they said. I imitated the chubby boy's voice. William, your stepmother is here. From now on, you'll suffer. When she has a younger brother, you'll be sent to live in the woodshed and won't even get enough to eat. He was tickled into giggling, his whole body relaxing considerably. I gently lifted his face, my voice becoming even more tender. William, you must remember this well. Those who truly love you, even if you poke a hole in the sky, they'll find a way to patch it up for you. But those who deliberately want to bully you, even if you cower in a corner, they'll still find ways to torment you. So, instead of crying and hiding, why not learn to fight back? He answered dejectedly. But that would cause trouble for the family. I gently stroked his hair. Your father is the minister, a second-rank official in the 6 boards. We of the Jiao family don't start trouble, but we absolutely won't be bullied either. Do you understand? His clear eyes suddenly lit up like they contained an entire galaxy. He nodded vigorously. After a moment, he asked softly with a hint of hope in his voice. Tomorrow, I want to eat the lotus cakes from South Street. May I? My heart melted completely as I spread my arms and hugged him tight. Of course, tomorrow Mother will buy you the biggest one, and we will sit right in front of the school gate to eat it, making those little devils crazy with envy. After that famous battle at the school gate, Lady Victoria and her 2 accomplices would avoid me like the plague whenever they saw me, taking detours, even if it meant going 800 miles out of their way. I found this extremely satisfying. Every day I would pick up William, buy him all kinds of delicious treats, and in the evenings listen to him recite his lessons. This life was even more comfortable than when I lived at my parents' home. Theodore, that scheming fellow, really knew how to keep his word. During the day, he was Minister Jiao, diligent and caring for the people. At night, he'd return to our room and transform into a devoted husband, dutifully, massaging my shoulders and back. That day, when I was teaching William to whistle with leaves, the gatekeeper came to report that a simple carriage had stopped outside the mansion. The driver had brought in a calling card specifically addressed to me. I opened it to see only 2 words, business matter, with no other words or signature. I turned the card over and over. The calligraphy was bold and arrogant, clearly revealing an air of pride. I was certain this was from Victoria Wang. I told the servant I wouldn't see her and tossed the card aside. Appearing friendly for no reason meant either trickery or ulterior motives. Victoria and I were already enemies. If she was looking for me, nothing good could come of it. But then the servant brought another small cloth bundle. The driver said, "If Madame won't meet, please look at this first." I opened it to find a gleaming gold ingot weighing heavily. I picked it up to test its weight. Genuine 10-ounce gold. Let that person in. Money delivered to my door. Not meeting would be wasteful. After 1 incense stick's time in an elegant private room of a secluded tea house in South City, I met Victoria disguised as a commoner. She removed her covering hat to reveal a haggard face, but her eyes burned with undissolved hatred. Speak directly. What's the matter? I'll get straight to the point. She stared at me as if she wanted to devour me alive. After a long moment, she ground her teeth and said, "Help me with something." "Sorry, I can't help you. We're enemies." I calmly lifted my teacup and blew gently on the foam. 1,000 gold coins. I shook my head. My old Jiao doesn't lack money. 3,000 gold coins? I looked troubled. That's
The powerful Marquis's mansion. Their influence is considerable. My husband is still in office. It's difficult to offend them. 5,000 gold coins plus 2 shops on East Street. Victoria slammed the table, grinding her teeth. I immediately sat up straight and nodded decisively. It's not about the money, mainly because I've always despised scumbag men who bully virtuous women. Victoria looked at me with a complex expression, then laughed coldly and told me everything. She wanted to make a big scene before divorcing her husband, Marquis Albert, because he had been bewitched by a concubine named Lily to the point of madness. This Lily was a seasoned manipulator who spent all day holding her fake pregnant belly and playing the victim, making Victoria, the legitimate wife, feel more oppressed than a servant in her own household. She's very careful, never lets anyone touch her. The doctors I invited couldn't even take her pulse, so I have no evidence to expose her fake pregnancy. Victoria was so angry her fingernails dug into her flesh. I asked curiously, "How are you so sure she's faking the pregnancy?" Victoria looked up with a cunning smile. "Because I already had that man drink sterilization medicine long ago. He'll never have children again in this lifetime. How could that Lily be pregnant?" Looking at the face blazing with hatred before me, a chill ran down my spine. Compared to her, my reputation for having a sharp tongue was truly too merciful. At most, I only used words to vent anger. I would never dare do something like this that cuts off bloodlines. Good heavens! The schemes in these noble mansions were truly unfathomably deep. Thank goodness my Theodore only had me alone with my simple mind. I probably couldn't survive 3 days in such political warfare. "So, how do you want me to help?" "I want you to expose her fake pregnancy in front of everyone, making Marquis Albert and that wench lose all face." I stroked my chin. This matter was a bit difficult, but quite stimulating. "All right," I nodded. "Tomorrow you arrange to meet her at Jade Butterfly Pavilion. Leave the rest to me." The next afternoon I took William along, ostensibly to buy him a new jade pendant, but actually timing our arrival at the capital's largest jewelry store, Jade Butterfly Pavilion. As soon as I entered, I saw today's main character, the concubine Lily, with her weak and delicate appearance, surrounded by several ladies, covering her mouth and laughing coquettishly. I pulled William to a corner to select jewelry, while casually grabbing a handful of the store's free sunflower seeds and sharing them with an elderly lady sitting nearby. "Madam, who is that person over there? She looks so impressive." The elderly lady pursed her lips while cracking seeds. "Who else could it be? That's Lily, Marquis Albert's concubine. She relies on her lucky belly to show off every day." Before she finished speaking, Victoria had entered with her maids. The play officially began. As soon as Lily saw Victoria, she rushed over with tearful eyes, pitifully grabbing Victoria's sleeve. "Sister, why did you come here today? I just saw a jade bracelet and was planning to buy it as a gift for sister. Look, it's this one." She pointed to a top-quality emerald bracelet. Victoria laughed coldly. "I was looking at that bracelet first. You deliberately came to compete for it, and now you're pretending to be kind." "Oh my! Look at this! The legitimate wife and concubine fighting over jewelry about to come to blows." People around began whispering and pointing. Lily suddenly clutched her belly and slowly sank to the ground, tears streaming like rain. "Sister, I know you don't like me. I'll leave now. Why did you have to push me? Inside my belly is the Marquise's flesh and blood." I took the opportunity to grab another handful of sunflower seeds and whispered to the elderly lady, "Look at this performance, more professional than opera singers in a troupe." At the most tense moment, Marquis Albert burst in as if on cue, roaring once before delivering an earth-shaking slap, The crisp sound echoed painfully. Victoria was slapped into a spin and fell to the ground. "You vicious woman, apologize to Lily immediately." Lily immediately played her part, clutching his sleeve and crying, "Lord, please don't blame sister. It's because I'm lowly and unworthy of using what sister likes." The Marquise's face wrinkled with distress as he turned to Victoria and roared, "In the house,
Your arrogance isn't enough. You have to cause trouble outside, too. Today, if you don't kneel and admit your fault, I'll divorce you immediately." The Marquis's beard stood on end as he raised his hand to strike again. Just then, I rushed out and grabbed his wrist. "Who dares stop me?" The Marquis turned around, looking at me in confusion. I quickly put on an ingratiating smile. "Lord Marquis, calm your anger. This humble woman just happened to pass by and wanted to watch the excitement while learning how the Marquis disciplines his wife, so I can apply it to my own husband at home." This comment made the entire room burst into laughter, and the Marquis's face turned red as he struggled futilely. "Oh, my lord, my belly hurts so much!" Lily immediately groaned. "Your flesh and blood might not be saved." The Marquis panicked and picked her up to run, not forgetting to turn back and shout, "Victoria, if anything happens to Lily, I won't spare you." I immediately blocked his path. "Lord Marquis, wait. If you carry her and run like that, the gold lump in her belly will be shaken into gold water." The Marquis anxiously roared, "Then what do you say we should do?" "Why, go far away." I smirked and pointed straight at an old man who was eating sunflower seeds and enjoying the show nearby. "A skilled physician is right here." Then I turned and grabbed the arm of Dr. Liu, an old friend of my father whom I had specially invited to join the fun. "Dr. Liu, the show's over. Time to save someone." Then I turned to the Marquis. "Lord Marquis, quickly put Lady Lily down so Dr. Lohu can take her pulse. Matters of continuing the family line cannot be taken lightly." Lily struggled desperately. "No need, Lord. I feel better now. No need to trouble the physician." "What are you saying, young lady?" I pressed her firmly down on the chair. "In your belly is the Marquis's precious treasure. How can we be careless? Don't worry. I'll protect you." I also shot Victoria a glance. I hate most those who rely on being the legitimate wife to oppress concubines. The Marquis nodded repeatedly and even covered Lily with a blanket. "Listen to her. Let the physician examine you for peace of mind." She trembled all over, refusing to extend her hand. "Dr. Liu, what are you waiting for? Take her pulse quickly." I pulled her hand out and pressed it down. "Treat the illness well. The Marquis will be happy, and the reward will be generous." Hearing about money, Dr. Liu's eyes lit up. His 3 fingers had just touched her wrist. His expression first showed doubt, then amazement, finally contorting as if he'd eaten bitter melon. The Marquess asked anxiously, "Doctor, is the pregnancy unstable?" Dr. Liu was so frightened he trembled, dropping his brush and immediately kneeling down, crying injustice. "Lord, spare my life! This young lady's pulse is flatter than my old waist. There's absolutely no pregnancy pulse at all." "What?" The Marquis exploded like a leech hit with lime. He tried to suppress his anger, his voice harsh, but deliberately kept low, clearly wanting to hide the family scandal and not lose more face before the people. But I'm different. I immediately jumped up and shouted loudly, "What? You're saying this young lady isn't pregnant at all? Impossible!" I turned to the crowd watching the drama. "Everyone heard clearly, right? Just now she claimed to be carrying the Marquis's flesh and blood and even pretended to be pushed by the legitimate wife and nearly miscarried." On the chair, Lily's face had turned ashen, struggling desperately. "Marquis, this old quack wants to harm me. You can't trust him."
Dr. Liu, afraid of losing his livelihood, also shouted, "Heaven and earth bear witness. I've practiced medicine for 30 years. I can even accurately read the pulse of an unhatched chick, let alone a human. You weren't pregnant at all. How can you falsely accuse me?"
Just then, Victoria dusted herself off, stood up, smiling, and delivered the final blow. "Sister, why be so flustered? I've already invited Imperial Physician Li from the Imperial Medical Bureau. When he arrives shortly, truth and falsehood will be clear immediately." Hearing the name Imperial Physician Li, Lily immediately fainted. Everything ended here. In less than half a day, all of Chang'an was buzzing with gossip. "Have you heard? Marquis Albert was fooled by a woman with a fake pregnancy until he was spinning like a top. That concubine was quite the actress. Every day she'd carry her stuffed belly around, showing off. The Marquis even planned to elevate her to secondary wife status. Absolutely hilarious. Now it's perfect. The entire capital knows the Marquess isn't just blind, but has brain problems too. Marquis Albert officially received the title of Blind Lord of the Year, his reputation completely ruined. Meanwhile, thanks to this dramatic performance, I gained a new title among the capital's noble ladies: the heroine who eliminates evil concubines and destroys wickedness. After the big drama at Marquis Albert's mansion, I clutched the 5,000 gold coins banknote and the deeds to 2 shops, my heart blooming with joy. Victoria was even more exhilarated, leading 30 servants back to the Marquise's mansion to pack her belongings. The scene was more spectacular than raiding enemy property. Even the spider webs on the roof beams were scraped down, with her boldly declaring, "These spider webs are also silk. I paid money for them. Take them away." Marquis Albert became the laughingstock pointed at by the entire capital, while Victoria became a shining example of female independence. She, along with Susan and Diana, these 3 sworn sisters. Because they shared hardships in this battle, their relationship became extremely subtle. When they met, they still mocked each other as usual, but their eyes held several parts of mutual sympathy. Not only that, the ladies also boldly sent me a large flower basket with a red card inside, bearing a spirited couplet. The first line read, "Scumbag men and cheap women either die young or face ruin." The second line, "Celebrating our elder sister's proud return to single life." The horizontal inscription, "Phoenix Reborn." Reading this heroic yet slightly exaggerated couplet, I clutched my belly, laughing until I nearly rolled on the ground. The peaceful days at Jiao Mansion continued flowing by like this. My daily routine gradually became regular, picking up William during the day, teaching him to read in the evenings, and every few days gathering with my reluctant sisterhood for afternoon tea. The topics were nothing but sharing experiences on taming husbands or ex-husbands, making everyone nod in understanding. Perhaps the taming was effective. Theodore, that workaholic, had also begun coming home earlier recently, sometimes even personally checking William's homework, showing the demeanor of a real father. As for William, nurtured by my love and countless delicacies, he had sprouted from a lonely little cabbage into a fierce carnivorous plant. On the surface, he still looked pitifully harmless, but any child at school who dared provoke him would definitely get sprayed with venom from that little mouth. Life continued peacefully like this, to the point where I almost forgot that my original purpose in marrying Theodore was only for those 16 properties. That day I was still carrying my 8-month pregnant belly, as usual, to pick up William from school. But after waiting past dismissal time, I still didn't see the child anywhere. My heart burned with anxiety as I hurried inside to inquire. The teacher regretfully informed me that William had already been picked up by another lady. The candy stick in my hand dropped to the ground with a thud. That's not right. His grandmother never leaves the mansion. Theodore is still buried in work at the government office. Damn it! Could we have encountered human traffickers?
My mind went blank with panic. Just as I was about to send someone back to the mansion to report, Victoria emerged from somewhere, extending 5 fingers toward me. 500 gold coins, and I'll lead you to find your son. I pulled out money so fast only an after image remained. She looked momentarily stunned. Wow! Even an iron rooster knows how to pluck its own feathers. Stop talking nonsense. That's my son. Who knew that? After taking the money, she leisurely tucked it into her chest before saying, "Go home. Your son went home early." I was furious enough to grind my teeth. All the way home, I only thought about how to get back those 500 gold coins. Sure enough, when I reached the mansion, William was sitting peacefully in grandmother's arms, sucking on a shiny golden candy stick, a type I'd never seen before. The fire of anger in my heart blazed up as I rushed over to pinch his ear. "William, who gave you permission to run around freely? Do you know how worried Mother was?" William shrank his neck and said timidly, "Mother, I'm sorry." I hadn't finished scolding when a cold, arrogant female voice rang out from the main seat. "William, come to Mother." Only then did I notice there was an additional woman in the hall. This woman wore a phoenix-embroidered golden dress, radiating an aura that says, "This old lady is super rich from head to toe." Her gaze at me was no different from looking at a fly. My heart sank as I asked directly, "Who are you?" The woman calmly wiped her mouth, not bothering to answer me, but turning gently to Williams. "William, tell her who I am." William slowly left his grandmother's embrace and walked to the woman's side, head hanging down, hands twisting his clothes hem. After a long while, he finally spoke in a voice so small it almost dissolved into the air. "She's my mother." Those 3 words, "my mother," struck like lightning across my ears, instantly emptying my mind. I stared at him in shock, blurting out, Your mother isn't already Dia." Before the word dead could leave my mouth, the woman slammed the table and shouted, "You're the one who's dead!" I looked toward the old lady, wanting an explanation. The old lady immediately displayed her skills on the spot by pretending to sleep, even snoring softly. Perfect! Every time it gets to the crucial moment, everyone pretends to be dead. I took a deep breath, stroked William's cheek, and forced a smile. "Good child, go to your room to study. Tonight the wet nurse will bring dinner to your room, including the lotus leaf steamed chicken you like." William nodded obediently and was about to follow me. "Wait." The woman, claiming to be his mother, shouted with an authoritative voice. "How can you leave without bowing to Mother?" William pouted reluctantly and bowed. "Son takes his leave." The woman smiled mockingly at me, seemingly showing off her victory. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention, only instructing the wet nurse to remember to add 2 eggs to the soup to console the child. After seeing William off, the room fell silent. The old lady continued snoring while the woman straightened her back, acting like the legitimate wife, waiting for me to bow. Ridiculous! Am I supposed to be afraid? I casually plopped down in the grand chair, immediately having 2 clever maids come forward to massage my feet. The smartest maid even asked, "Does Madame want a foot message as well? Go ahead and message." I waved my hand lightly and closed my eyes in enjoyment. On the opposite side, the woman's face had turned green as a banana leaf. Time passed like this. The old lady's snoring grew louder and louder. The tea-serving maids had already been replaced 3 times, while the guest went through cup after cup of tea, looking at her purple face from trying to hold it in. I knew her bladder was about to surrender. Finally, salvation appeared. Theodore had returned, but he didn't walk in. He slid in on his knees. He executed a perfect slide right to my feet, immediately, beginning to massage my feet without a word. Madam must have been very frightened. This humble husband
deserves death 10,000 times.
While comforting me, he didn't forget to turn toward the old lady, pretending to sleep.
Mother, stop pretending to sleep. Go eat dinner. Your stomach is rumbling louder than thunder.
Caught by her son, the old lady had to shamefully wake up and quickly scurry out of the hall, faster than a rabbit. The woman laughed coldly. Theodore, your new wife seems quite fierce indeed. Theodore continued massaging my feet without looking up, only coldly commanding, Guards, escort this unwelcome person out for this official. The woman trembled with rage and shot up. Theodore, how dare you? If you drive me away today, tomorrow I'll take William with me. Try it and see. Theodore suddenly looked up, his gaze sharp and cold, his aura suddenly changing so dramatically that even I was surprised. Seeing him about to truly explode, I feared he'd ruin everything, and quickly pinched his thigh hard, signaling him to calm down. I whispered, Are you crazy? You're scaring me to death. Theodore again performed an elegant kneeling maneuver beside my feet, clutching my dress and pleading, Madam, please don't misunderstand for even a moment. She and I divorced long ago. In my heart, in my dreams, there is only Madame alone. I struggled to suppress my laughter, saying coldly, Didn't you say your first wife died early? How is she crawling up from underground now? Theodore put on an innocent expression, almost raising his hand to swear, She really did leave. After the divorce, she left here. I even asked the matchmaker to clearly state that I was divorced with one child. I thought Madam knew about this. I was speechless. Back then, as soon as I heard Minister Jiao, I nodded eagerly, afraid that if I was a beat too slow, this delicious pie falling from heaven would slip away. How could I have listened to the following details? I turned my face away and said stiffly, Who knows if you two still have unfinished business? Old flames rekindling uninvited. Theodore immediately transformed into a puppy, rubbing his face against my dress coquettishly. In my heart, there is only Madam alone. Even if the goddess of heaven descended, I would look the other way. The corner of my mouth twitched upward, but I quickly suppressed it. That's barely acceptable. I turned to look at the ex-wife whose face had turned deathly pale. Listen here, big sister. You and old Jiao are already divorced, now suddenly appearing. What's your intention? Want to remarry? Sorry, don't even dream about it. The ex-wife named Vivian Yang raised her chin high, her face full of disdain. Remarry. You two think too highly of yourselves. I came here to take William back and raise him to be the heir of the Yang family. Yang family, I whispered to Theodore. Is the Yang family so rich that even the Dragon clan has to show them respect? Theodore nodded like a pecking chicken. Oh, my heavens. I jumped up from the chair and immediately put on a standard 5-star smile. So, it's Lady Yang. How rude! How very rude! Have you eaten yet? Would you like to stay for a simple meal? Vivian adjusted her clothes, looking satisfied, clearly pleased with my sensible attitude. Actually, sitting here for half the day has made me quite hungry. I smiled brightly and respectfully invited. Then please hurry back to your mansion for dinner. We're also about to eat, so we won't keep you any longer. Please take your time leaving. Her face changed from white to green to black in unpredictable variations. Standing up, Vivian's gaze fell on my large belly, and she laughed coldly. Tomorrow, I'll come to take William. After all, now that you have your own child, you won't love him anymore. Nonsense! I roared, supporting my pregnant belly as I charged forward. This old lady has spent years through wind and rain picking him up from school, helping him with homework. I even know the 3-character classic by heart. And you, besides giving birth to him, what else do you know how to do? Do you think showing up occasionally like a ghost makes you a mother? Listen carefully, Vivian, if you want to snatch my son. No way. I'll even block the windows for you." Theodore wrapped his arms around me, but his eyes stared straight at Vivian Yang, his usual gentleness completely gone, replaced by a terrifying coldness. He spoke, his voice not loud, but every word clear. "Vivian, you have no right to be his mother. Do you remember that year for the Yang family fortune? You personally tried twice to kill your own flesh and blood. If I hadn't secretly switched the abortion medicine with pregnancy-preserving medicine, William wouldn't exist in this world. For 4 years, he grew up without ever being held by his birth mother once. What he needs is the warmth of family love, not the gold and jewels you bring. These things someone who only sees profit like you could never understand." Vivian laughed lightly, as if she'd just heard a great joke. "Family warmth! That's just self-consolation for the poor and humble. When there's money, William will understand that all troubles in this world can be solved with money." Seeing that arguing like this would lead nowhere, I suddenly had an idea. I smiled slightly and looked straight at Vivian. "Little Yang, verbal disputes are useless. How about we make a bet to see who's better?" Her eyes narrowed. "What kind of bet?" "Very simple. Bet on whose side William's heart will ultimately turn to." I held up one finger. "The time limit is 1 month. During this month you can use any methods you want. After 1 month, if he voluntarily goes with you, I absolutely won't stop him. I'll even give you this entire minister's mansion as a congratulatory gift. If he doesn't go, you must disappear from our lives forever, never to appear again." Vivian smiled confidently, as if she could already see her victory. "Agreed." She crossed her arms and looked at me, emphasizing each word. "Charlotte, I'll show you that money can make even ghosts do your bidding." Theodore and I stared at each other all night, finally agreeing that in the coming month we had to use all our love to make William understand that this place was truly his home, and we absolutely had to keep him by our side. Though I'd made up my mind, my heart felt heavy. Over the past year, I'd poured out my heart and soul, but the 4 words, "blood is thicker than water," couldn't be taken lightly. They weighed on my heart like a mountain. Seeing my silence, Theodore knelt on the washstand again, raising 3 fingers to the sky in oath. "Madam, rest assured, I will definitely make William stay by your side, so that in the future he can support us in our old age." I tapped his head lightly. "There you go, talking nonsense again. Who needs him to support us?" Then I unconsciously sighed, my voice full of melancholy. If Vivian truly treats him well, letting him go back to inherit the family fortune and live a life of wealth and glory wouldn't be impossible either. Speaking of this, my eyes involuntarily redden. The treasure I'd raised for so long, thinking of having to hand him over to someone else, made my heart ache, like someone was cutting away a piece of flesh. Theodore saw me crying and hurriedly wiped my tears, his voice full of indignation. "Madam is too kind-hearted, unlike someone who only thinks of profit like Vivian. She was once heartless enough not to want to give birth to him. So how could she have genuine maternal feelings now? She came back simply because she's too lazy to have children, but still wants an heir for the young family's vast fortune. That's not love. It's exploitation. It's appropriation." His words stirred up my competitive spirit. I wiped away my tears and clenched my fists. "You're right. We absolutely cannot bow to the power of money. What if she has money? Our Xiao mansion isn't exactly lacking in food or clothing either." The next day, I brought William to school with complex feelings. The carriage was silent. He kept his head down the whole time. Near the school gate, he finally struggled to pull out a crumpled banknote and tremblingly pressed it into my hand. "Mother, birth mother said that if I go with her, she'll give me 1,000 gold coins, spending money every day." He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Mother, I know 1,000 gold coins is a lot of money,
Please use it to buy jewelry.
My heart melted, knowing immediately that this child's heart still turned toward me.
My good child. I hugged him close, gently stroking his small back. Don't be troubled by those words. Tonight, Mother will take you to Golden Phoenix Mountain Villa. We'll have a really good meal.
He looked up, his voice choked.
Mother, aren't you angry with me?
This is adult business, not your fault. I gently stroked his head. You just need to remember one thing. No matter what happens, my William will always be a child worthy of love. Seeing him turn away to hide his tears, I didn't expose him either. I silently handed him his book bag, my mind already quickly switching to thinking about whether we should have braised pig trotters or sweet and sour fish for dinner. But as soon as I lifted the carriage curtain and looked up, I nearly dropped my jaw in shock. Today's scene at the school gate was completely different. All the teachers wore their formal ceremonial robes, and the headmaster was smiling so broadly his wrinkles could trap flies. Everyone bowed in unison. Welcome, young Master Zhao. This ceremony was more grand than welcoming a top scholar returning home in glory. Little William had obviously never seen such a scene. His young vanity thoroughly satisfied, he unconsciously waved his hand in the manner of a high official. You may all rise. Immediately after, a magnificent carriage resembling a miniature palace slowly stopped. Even the 4 fine horses pulling it wore golden neck rings. Vivian, dressed in silk and brocade, stepped down like an empress, followed by 8 maids carrying trays full of jewels. Little William, do you like it? This is a gift your birth mother gave to your school. She pointed to the newly replaced signboard cast entirely in real gold. William nodded eagerly like a pecking chicken. I like it! The teachers, usually stern, were today unusually warm and friendly. Vivian pulled out another banknote and stuffed it into his hand. Take this to buy gifts for your classmates. I glanced at it, and my heart skipped a beat. 500 gold coins is enough for our entire household to live comfortably for a year. My integrity immediately flew up to the 9th heaven. I squeezed out the most ingratiating smile possible and settled closer. Oh, my sister has such bearing and nobility. I wonder if you still need a sworn sister. How about taking me as one? She laughed until her shoulders shook, then flung out another banknote. Very good, sweet tongue. Here's your reward. Good heavens, 1,000 gold coins. I clutched both banknotes like precious treasures, then turned and held them high like a victory flag, shouting to the group of noble ladies gathering to watch. Sisters, today I'm treating everyone. Let's go to the #1 restaurant in Chang'an East Garden, and we won't go home until we're drunk. Vivian fanned herself with a silk fan, speaking as casually as if discussing the weather. Oh, that place is our family's property. Just mention my name and you can all dine there free for life. As soon as she finished speaking, cheers erupted behind me like New Year firecrackers. Lady Yang is truly magnanimous. Lady Yang is so generous. I forced out a smile, but inside I felt sour as if I drunk a jar of vinegar. The next half-month, I truly experienced what it felt like to be slapped in the face by a rich person's money. Today, Vivian had Persian carpets laid from the school gate all the way to the classroom. Tomorrow, she had jade and emeralds embedded in the teacher's pointers, supposedly to make hitting hands more comfortable. The climax was when she gave each student a knight, illuminating pearl today, saying it was for playing marbles in the light. Victoria and the sisterhood were bought off daily with rare and unique treasures. The ladies turned the school gate into a gathering place, coming punctually every day, like going to market just to wait for Lady Young to distribute rewards. As the 1-month deadline approached, Vivian also grew tired of acting. That day after school, she casually took William's hand and stepped onto her magnificent carriage that moved like a mobile castle. She lifted the window curtain and shot me a triumphant look. "Charlotte, I told you, money can make ghosts do your bidding." I couldn't swallow this anger. I took a deep breath and flashed a brilliant smile, shouting loudly to the crowd, "Sisters, Lady Yang is in high spirits. She's treating us all to her private zoo to pet pandas. First come, first served." As soon as I finished speaking, a whirlwind of perfume swept past me. Victoria, quick as lightning, had already darted into the carriage, abandoning her 3 sons who were calling for mother in confusion. Susan, hating that she couldn't grow 2 more legs, ran until she lost her shoes, but still chased barefoot. Diana was even more domineering. She shoved aside Vivian's driver, grabbed the rest herself. "Hurry up, save me a spot first." Vivian's face turned green as a frog's bottom, while I stood with my clothes fluttering in the breeze, calmly stepping onto my own rattling carriage like a strategist who had just finished deploying troops, waiting to watch the good show. Inside the mobile fortress, Vivian still tried to salvage her image. "Little William, are you happy staying with birth mother?" William was playing 9 linked rings made of pure gold, with Kevin answering absently. "Happy, I guess." Her face brightened as she quickly asked, "So, in your opinion, is staying with your stepmother more fun or staying with birth mother more fun?" William answered without hesitation, "Staying with mother is more fun." Mother, that was the special name he reserved only for me. Victoria, sitting beside, couldn't help but snort with laughter. The children of the Jiao family are born knowing how to distinguish truth from falsehood. Susan also chimed in. Where true sincerity lies, children sense most clearly. Vivian's face immediately turned deathly pale. Only now did she realize that this group of noble ladies, while flattering her on the surface, were actually all spies I had planted. She angrily turned to William with harsh words. "No matter how good she is to you, she's still just a stepmother. When she has her own child, you'll be thrown out on the street." William suddenly looked up, his expression extremely serious. He answered clearly, "No, she won't." Mother said, "I'm her greatest treasure. Even if there are younger brothers or sisters later, I'll always be the eldest." On the decoy carriage, I had no idea about the conversation inside that luxurious vehicle. I was only worried enough to twist my handkerchief into shreds, afraid that the foolish child I loved with all my heart would ultimately be dazzled by money's glitter. When we arrived at the Yang family's private zoo, I had just gotten off the carriage and taken a few steps when a sharp pain like tearing struck my lower abdomen, making my legs go weak and causing me to collapse. Vivian stepped down from her carriage, saw the scene, and merely waved her hand coldly. "See, this type of woman only knows how to fake it, playing the victim to win sympathy."
"William, you must remember only birth mother truly cares for you."
I was in so much pain I bit my lip about to speak in defense when I suddenly felt a rush of hot liquid flowing from below. The water broke. Victoria, being experienced, cried out in alarms, "Quick, quick! She's about to give birth!" She rushed over to support me. "Hurry, carry her to the carriage and get her back to the mansion." But Vivian blocked the carriage door with her arm, her face full of disgust. "Absolutely not. That Tibetan carpet is a tribute from the western regions, worth 3,000 ounces of gold. If it gets dirty, how do we account for it?" A crisp slap echoed as Victoria couldn't hold back anymore and struck her directly.
"You heartless woman! Is the carriage more important or a human life?"
Everyone hurriedly worked together to lift me into the luxurious carriage. I was in so much pain that everything went dark before my eyes. my whole body convulsing non-stop. William gripped my hand tightly, crying like rain. "Mother, don't be scared. William will protect you." Vivian, holding her swollen cheek, still bitterly taunted. "Foolish boy. When she gives birth to a son, you'll be the one thrown out on the street." I struggled to raise a trembling finger pointing at her. "Get lost!" Victoria immediately understood and continued for me. "Get lost back to your rainbow-colored mansion!" She pointed straight at Vivian and unleashed a torrent of abuse. "Shameless creature! Years ago you abandoned husband and child for money, making the Jiao family so poor they had nothing to eat. Now seeing them raise your child healthy and smart, you want to come harvest the sweet fruit. There's no such easy thing in this world." Diana nodded like a pecking chicken. "Exactly right." Susan also joined in, her voice full of contempt. "Can't bear children yourself, so you come to snatch someone else's raised child. Have you no shame? William is everyone's treasure, not for someone like you to freeload off." Diana nodded repeatedly again. "Exactly right." Little William suddenly cried even harder. "Mother, I was wrong. These past days I was just pretending. I was only acting friendly to take her money." He sobbed while pulling out a thick stack of banknotes from his chest and shoving them all into my hands. "With this money, Mother won't have to live frugally anymore. I don't want Mother to die. I want Mother to safely give birth to the baby. Later, we children will be filial to you together." In the midst of excruciating pain, I looked at the stack of money that could buy half a street. Not knowing whether to cry or laugh, this foolish boy had truly plucked Vivian clean as a whistle. Victoria wiped my tears while sniffling herself. "Oh my, this scene of loving mother and filial son is so moving!" Susan patted my shoulder, her eyes also red. "That's right. Seeing such a filial child makes me feel life is still worth living." Diana nodded. "Exactly right." Vivian stood stunned, seemingly wanting to argue back. But William had already stepped forward, shielding me. He looked up, his young gaze determined beyond his years, his voice clear as he refuted all her words. "If my mother has any mishap because of you, I will never forgive you for the rest of my life." The carriage raced back to the mansion where the midwife and hot water were already waiting. Theodore had rushed in like a whirlwind, grabbing the midwife's hand and stammering, "Preserve the mother. You must preserve the mother." The midwife turned pale and pushed his hand away. "Lord, wouldn't it be best if both mother and child are safe?" He approached, and I was about to say something loving when I suddenly screamed because the hand I just extended had been bitten by me in a spasm of pain drawing blood. Finally, in the chaos, I gave birth to a rosy, adorable little princess. William, beside the bed, wept with joy, solemnly promising by the bedside, "From now on, if there's anything delicious, I'll definitely let little sister have it first." I was exhausted beyond measure, weakly looking toward the door where Vivian still stood, her expression complex, containing jealousy and unwillingness, but also a trace of indescribable admiration. "Sorry," I whispered, "for dirtying your carriage. I'll have old Jiao compensate you." Her face froze. Then, as if to hide her confusion, she threw down a large denomination banknote. "It's just a carriage. Our family has hundreds of them. No need for compensation. Consider this congratulatory money for your daughter." I looked at the number on the banknote and nearly jumped out of bed. 10,000 gold coins. Tears of emotion for the child and tears of excitement for the money both flowed from my eyes. I quickly reached out to grab her hand. "Sister, from now on, we are truly sisters of different fathers and mothers." The corner of her mouth twitched several times, seemingly unsure how to respond to my shamelessness, and finally left quietly. A year later, under the eaves, I held my soft little princess who was dozing in the sun. Theodore sat beside me like a well-behaved puppy, carefully peeling grapes and feeding them to me one by one. "Madam?" I had just opened my mouth when William had already burst out from behind the artificial mountain like a small whirlwind, holding a thick stack of banknotes. "Mother, I've plucked another pile of sheep's wool." I laughed and clapped in approval. "Well done, my son. Your technique is even better than your father's medicine-switching skills from years ago." Theodore blushed and said awkwardly, "Madam, that's ancient history. Please don't bring it up anymore." Just as our family was enjoying ourselves, Victoria suddenly rushed in like she was being chased by ghosts.
"This is bad, Charlotte. That witch is here again."
Before she finished speaking, Vivian, dressed in magnificent robes and wearing high platform shoes, followed by a train of servants, had already strolled in casually as if taking a walk in her own garden. "Oh, everyone's here!" Everyone immediately took battle positions, preparing for a new fight. Only I still smiled and waved. Sister arrived at the perfect time. "Come see your goddaughter." Vivian nearly tripped over her own feet. "Who is my goddaughter?" I argued righteously. "That day you gave 10,000 gold coins as a meeting gift. Wasn't that accepting to be her godmother?" She stood there dumbfounded, but faced with my logic, she finally had to grind her teeth and pull out a night illuminating pearl the size of a goose egg, stuffing it into my daughter's hands. "Gift for my goddaughter." Seeing this, Victoria also refused to be outdone, taking out an exquisite golden lock and carefully putting it on the baby. "My sweet daughter-in-law, grow up quickly and marry into the Marquis mansion." As soon as she finished speaking, Susan glared and charged forward. "Victoria, that golden lock looks familiar. Isn't it the one I dropped at the gate yesterday?" In an instant, the small courtyard of Zhao Mansion turned into a broken marketplace. Over here, William was seriously teaching Kevin the secret of extracting pocket money from birth mothers. Over there, Victoria and Susan were already pulling each other's hair. Diana was frantically trying to mediate. "If you want to fight, go inside to fight. Don't scare the children." Taking advantage of everyone's distraction, Vivian secretly pulled out a scroll of documents from her sleeve, then stealthily approached me, trying to grab my little princess's tiny hand to press it onto the prepared inheritance document. She lowered her voice coaxingly. "Good little one. Just press your little hand here and all of my family fortune will be yours." In the midst of the chickens flying and dogs jumping scene, Theodore had somehow appeared beside me, quietly taking my hand. The spring sunlight poured honey over the small courtyard, enveloping everything and making even this chaotic scene seem covered with a gentle glow. Sometimes connections don't always have to maintain dignified silence. Sometimes they're just this kind of noisy, strange mess, but so solid that no one can tear them apart. True family bonds are forged through daily acts of love, not blood or wealth. Charlotte's fierce protection of William and his loyalty to her prove that genuine care creates deeper connections than biology or money. When faced with Vivian's riches, William chose the warmth of someone who truly saw and valued him. The story reveals that authentic relationships built on consistent kindness, sacrifice, and understanding ultimately triumph over superficial attractions like status or material gain. The end.